Welcome back, Red Spotters. Another show on the Red Spotlight podcast. I'm your host, Alexis Soto. How are you doing? Because we're all fucking losing our minds. I'm joined by David Francisco. This is the 21st week of the pandemic. If you've forgotten, which I'm sure you have, there is a pandemic going on. It's called COVID. This is Spotlight number 254, and we're totally okay, right? How are you doing, David?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Because, this has been probably the longest week, in between episodes where I've had maybe the most mental breakdowns. So that's not at all comforting, but we're there. Today we were supposed to have a different show. Peter was supposed to be here tonight. We were supposed to review Palm Springs, and don't worry, we'll still get his thoughts the next time he's on. We've had some rescheduling issues, so today's show will be a little bit impromptu, as it were. So we have still the review with Palm Springs, which stars Andy Samberg. It is currently on Hulu. It was, I believe, a Sundance film that was purchased by Hulu. It's on there to stream right now. Came out within the last, I want to say, 2 weeks, so we'll be getting into that film. David was gracious enough to step in and also watch the movie, so that way we have something concrete to talk about today, which is nice. On top of all of the other items that we may discuss, so keep in mind that the conversation may creep into a little more casual this week, which is fine. I mean, we always have casual talk every week as with COVID is concerned. I'm sure listeners have noticed, and I'm sure David is perhaps the one who listens to our podcasts the most, as far as our panel is concerned, would also attest to that. Lately, especially with episodes with Peter and myself, we have had a tendency to go on long tangents of the political sort, and I'm sure he's listened to all of that and knows that it is inevitable with every show that we do. We will have other topics to discuss in terms of what may be going on in the news, but just be aware that this will be a far more free-flowing discussion because of the last-minute nature of it. So how we usually like to start off is what we saw this week. Although in David's case, this may be what we saw this year, or what we saw this pandemic. He told me right before we were recording that there was a whole list of 16 or so items that he has seen in a many number of weeks since the last time he was on a regular news version of the show, which was... When?
It was when the Snyder Cut was announced. Yeah, I've mostly just been in the
2 months
fantasy. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Well, you've been. That isn't to say that you've been gone. You haven't been in the new show, but it's not as if you haven't been around with particularly Red Spotlight. You've been a big part of the Avatar The Last Airbender recaps, which we just finished those. They're all on this stream if you want to listen to those. Very, very thorough, going through all of the episodes of Avatar The Last Airbender. I think you were the only one, maybe besides me, that was on all of the episodes, so there's that. And then, of course, we've been doing Beyond the Shield, also available on this feed. Which you should be watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., by the way, if you haven't, every Wednesday at 10 p.m., if not on Hulu. Hey! So you've been very much involved, and of course the audio commentary. Yeah. So look, I'm gonna go into more in depth with the podcast that I have planned with Kyle. Kyle's actually about to go off on a 2-week vacation. After being an essential service worker for an eternity. So I'm planning a show with him where we talk about, you know, how it's been like this summer, this year, and what stuff we have planned for episodes and projects for the podcast. And of course, we've been on Fantasy Fair. So we'll get more into that. I am very happy as far as with how the shows are progressing and the kinds of shows that we're doing. So we'll have, there may be some stuff I announced tonight or that David and I are doing. We did the audio commentaries with, you know, Into the Spider-Verse, which is like one of my favorites that we've done so far. So yeah, it's we've been doing maybe more than we ever have, and you've definitely been a part of that every step of the way. It's interesting. I'll tell you, like, we've been doing this show, well, at least I'll speak for myself. I've been doing this show for 5-6 years. We started Red Spotlight in late 2014. It didn't become a regular thing, I want to say, until 2016. So it's been a long road. But I'll say that in the many iterations of us doing this show, I perhaps am happiest where it's at right now. Because it's never felt so tightly knit before. You know, I have had many iterations, not just on this podcast or on this show, but other projects that I've been involved with, like Barely News Crew, or even the short documentary film that I made, See Us, where, you know, it is far more isolated as far as like having to be on top and micromanaging everything. But it's never felt, at least this podcast, it's never felt more collaborative before, to the point where it's like, I'm really leaning on you guys for a lot of the wonderful ideas that we've already produced and the ones that are still to come. So, and I'm also thankful for anyone who listens, wherever you're listening. This podcast in many ways has been a diary. into our psyches and in a way to let out what we kind of need to let out and have no other venue for it. You know, it's you and me and Alexis and Kyle and Peter, and yeah, it what I also love is not just the fact that we're all, you know, contributing in big ways now, and of course, not that isn't to say that you hadn't done it before, but the consistency of it is definitely there, and I think it shows in the final product. But the fact that we're doing a lot of these together, like I think we did Rise of Skywalker and Knives Out. Audio commentaries where all of us were there. And I think those were the very first commentaries where like, oh, we did like 5 people. That's like the biggest group of people we've had for a commentary before, you know? And it feels a lot more fun that we all get to do it together. And which, speaking of, there'll be more commentaries that are coming up pretty soon, and I'm excited about that because why I liked doing those commentaries, especially back in the early days of the pandemic, 20 years ago, was because it fulfilled a need, and that was, to go to a theater and watch a movie. And since that's never going to happen again, well, the next best thing is to see it with, your friends and see it together. And, if you're doing that, you might as well record it in a commentary. So I'm glad where the show is, considering a lot of us are going through a lot, to say the least. So I guess that was like an introduction as to how I'm feeling, or At least the little like positive things that I'm clinging to. How has it been like for you, managing, like just taking care of yourself first of all in all of this?
It hasn't really affected me much. Like I never stopped working since the quarantine or anything like that.
You are an essential worker, so you've been basically on the grind.
I mean, what it definitely affected me, I'm going to a community college and everything. So because of the quarantine, school is closed, and we just went straight to like online basically. And I don't know why, but when we went straight to online, I just lost. I just couldn't keep up with it. Part of me just kind of gave up on the semester and went, fuck it. I'll retake them if I have to. So that was definitely one thing that affected me. But luckily, though, my teachers just passed me.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, at least 2 of them. I was taking 3 classes at a time, but 2 of them passed me. The other one, I'm pretty sure they failed me. I can't remember what the grade was. But
did they just not care?
I guess not.
I mean, it's kind of hard to complain or to do much of anything right now with the situation that we're in. I mean, it sounds as if you kind of died halfway through the semester because of the circumstance that you're in.
Yeah.
Look, online learning is just nowhere near where it needs to be. It is preferable than, the physical space because of the deadly pathogen that's out there right now, obviously, and how it can be easily spread. So it is, in this instance, better, but it's not a good situation overall because there are so many issues with distance learning, with online learning. And as I said with myself, with the few online classes that I took, I don't remember them because they were so annoying. And that's it. They didn't feel like a real class. It just, it really, the words aren't coming to me, but it's just not fun. How your sister does it, I don't know, because she was saying the other day that she was looking at continuing on, but it seems that that's all that she does are online classes.
Yeah, she really needs them because, I mean, for me, luckily, like I work nights at my job, so like I have all day to myself basically, so I can go to school or I can go to a class basically. But her though, her schedule is always, she's either all day or just half a day or something. So she never knows when is a good time to be in a class basically. And I mean, she could tell her bosses like, hey, I can go on this time, but especially for right now though, since she's starting a new job finally, she doesn't really want to take a chance of like basically telling them like my time.
It's just not I mean, are they having physical classes right now?
No, they're not.
Because no. So that wouldn't come up regardless. But I understand what you're saying. It is just part. That's just a drop in the bucket of the number of things that we have been forced to adapt because of this situation right now. Anything else as to how it's affected you?
No, it was just basically school that affected me, especially because the classes that I was taking a cinematography class and a documentary class, and I was getting really excited for like the projects that we had to do.
Oh no!
And so when we went straight to online, not only did the teacher have to figure out like what to do next.
Well, it died. The class died the minute it went online. I mean, you just can't do that. I was just having this conversation with, a few weeks ago, our good friend Nettie, friend of the show, Nettie Valdez, had a similar circumstance to what you were going through, although she, I don't know where it ended up being, but it wasn't at all. It was kind of like the opposite effect in like where your teachers are like, fuck it. With her, they're like, tough luck, bitch. with how she was treated. There was part of the curriculum required her having to attend physical events for credits or points as part of the grade, and because she had failed to do that before the pandemic hit out of nowhere, she couldn't do that. So
wow.
There was an attempt of an arrangement with the professor to see if they could just let that slide, because it's kind of out of her control, you know? And situations didn't necessarily get any better from there. So it's like, whereas with you, things have, you know, they were kind of like very understanding of the situation based on what I've heard from the San Diego side of things, and it's not exclusive to one institution. From what I've heard, they've kind of doubled down on being a complete hard ass, and being very unbending to the difficulties that, may, come from a pandemic. Notice how many times I'm saying that word in case people fucking forget that there's a pandemic going on right now, because that does seem to happen, like literally every day. I want to share this news because I don't think I've had the opportunity to say this here. Nettie hasn't been on for a long time. She's had a lot of, her life's never boring. So there's always a lot of ups and downs. And right now she's, working out, trying to figure out future living arrangements, and preparing for CSU Northridge, which that was the announcement. For those wondering where she's been and what's going on with her, she, spoke with me a few weeks back, and if you know Nettie and you've listened to her shows, she is film. That's her life, film student. That's what she's been doing the entire time, and she got into CSU Northridge, which is one of the more renowned film programs in California, and that's what she's always wanted to do. So congratulations to Nettie for getting into it. I know she's been working hard at it for a lot of years, basically a lot of years on and off school, because every other year there seems to be a temporal emergency and things completely fall apart, and she has to basically move left and right from location to location, and things have happened. Yes, those of us who know her understand that part of her nature is the very unpredictability of what happens. But the fact that she's been so persistent and so going at it, and that she finally got it, I'm excited for her. At the same time, I'm also just disappointed because we are going to be continuing, at least as a country, this conversation is only beginning to erupt about reopening schools, which in my view is a ludicrous discussion to have in the first place, as far as like physical places to have school. But on top of that, and I've been saying this for months, you might want to reconsider if you're somebody who is going to these very expensive universities or UCs or CSUs, and especially if they can't reopen, and if all they're offering are online programs, you are missing a very essential component of the college experience. If I, for example, and I attended several public and private institutions that were very much expensive, to the point where I'm $60,000 in debt. Hey, how you doing? It's America, doesn't matter. I'll die before I pay it off. It's good. But I'm fine. I mean, I appreciated my experience in those schools and whatever, but I don't know if I would be okay with the idea of paying, let's say, $10,000 for a semester, being on a fucking computer and not being physically there and actually getting to learn and experience the things that I'm supposed to be paying for. You see what I'm getting at here? Like, I may be thinking about, you know what? I'm just going to take this semester off because I'm not going to get my money's worth out of this, it seems like. And so I worry really about, for friends of mine who have to be circumventing this new reality that we're in. And I mean, if things go good, which would be a change, but if things go good, there would be a vaccine mid to late 2021. And if that's the case, then we've beat this and things can get back to normal there. And if that's the case, really, are you missing anything if you take a year off? Just save yourself the money. Take the year off. Focus on you. That's my TED Talk. I'm losing my mind here, guys. I really am. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I am taking some advantage of this quarantine pandemic. So at work, I finally started listening to audiobooks. I'm also just finally listening to Harry Potter and Percy Jackson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I finished the Percy Jackson ones, and they were good. They were great. I really liked them. I like the characters. I like the world and all that. And I'm loving Harry Potter. I'm in the 4th one right now. And yeah, they're better than the movies. I love the movies, but wow, it's great detail, great characters, and some great other stories that were not in the movies at all. One of my favorite ones though is what was it? The Name of the Wind. I don't know if you heard of it.
I haven't.
It was people. A lot of people were loving it, mostly because of its world building, and I 100% agree. Like, it went into incredible detail about this world, not only just by like the way these people live, but also putting in effort on like their religion or their mythology, and just kind of like the class systems too, and all that. It's really, really good. Oh my god. So yeah, that's one thing I've finally taken advantage of. And yeah, I'm also just trying to watch other movies and shows, some stuff that I haven't seen.
Yeah, it's a lot of us are having to find things to do, right? Like one of the things, and we've been discussing this lately off air, and I think I did mention this last week with Peter, but a lot of us have definitely caught in the online shopping bug. If we did, if coronavirus didn't get us, well, the online shopping virus got us. That's for sure. Because all of us have been, digging into particular fascinations of ours, and dropping the dollars, as they say. Before moving into that, I will say a lot of us had been saving up, and we may have mentioned this, right? Yeah, I'm sure we did. We were saving up for Disneyland, and that was a passion of ours and all of us to an extent. Of course, we never have had the opportunity to be there together. And we've been planning this or dreaming of this for a long, long time. And so this year was supposed to have been the year. And then, of course, that was completely flushed down the toilet. Thank you, President Trump, for that. I'll never forget. And, of course, our weak government. It's just so sad to the point where I've kind of, for the last 2 weeks, I want to say that I haven't really been immersing myself in much like media. It's changing now, but I was kind of on this like I don't know, like post-mortem Disney depression blues, whatever, because of what never came. And so I have been kind of looking up old vloggers on YouTube, the Disney YouTube crowd, who've, done all of these things, and just like trying to catch up myself with the stuff that I've missed lately, and kind of like, in a way, experience what they were experiencing through them, So I've kind of been in that little bit of a rabbit hole going on there, which, to tell you the truth, I'm not sure if that made me feel better, but there's that. And then as far as like the things that we have, pursued in buying stuff, because we're all kind of broken people. I know that Alexis has, I will not disclose the number, and I couldn't remember what the number was, so there's that. But she has literally thrown a life's savings account at acquiring as much Disney merchandise as possible, not just for herself, because she thinks of others too. She gave a lot of people a lot of stuff. I'll let you get to what you were going to say right now, David, but I also just want to say, look, a lot of us have been doing that. Kyle has been building up his record collection. I've lost count of the number of records that he has purchased. I've been trying to basically redecorate my room. I did the math, and it turns out I think I purchased something like 10 new posters in the time of this pandemic. I just recently purchased some more LED lights for more lighting in the room. It's like, it's kind of out of control. And I know you've been getting a lot of books, as you were telling us.
Yeah, the audiobooks and just some regular books too. I've been reading the comic books, the last Airbender comics take place afterwards, and they're really, really good. Oh my god. Just kind of like the things that they had to go through, and I can see like the beginnings of like what they're doing in the comics led to Korra. So what you see in Korra, and it's great. Just some other books. I got the Dune book. I haven't read it yet, but
you've got plenty of time. We're only in the 21st
plenty
week.
of time. Yeah. And then I bought a couple of DVDs. I know I got a Wall-E steelbook.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. It's so cool.
I love Wall-E.
And then I've been trying to build up my Studio Ghibli collection.
Okay, remind me, is it pronounced Studio Ghibli or Studio Ghibli?
I say Ghibli.
Okay, so you're like, fuck whatever anybody else says. It's Ghibli.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know.
Continue.
I don't know. It just sounds better for me to say Ghibli than Ghibli.
It's like GIF all over again.
Yeah. And then some camera equipment, which, I mean, right now it's kind of a waste, but I mean, who knows? But yeah, I just bought some lenses, what is it? Filters, and some. I think I told you this. I bought like a micro extension lens, basically, just get close up shots of like flowers or bugs, whatever. But yeah, I've been building that up. But now I have to save my money though.
Well, yeah, you know, because school isn't cheap and everything. But hey, I think it's always nice to treat yourself. You know, I think that's one of the best stuff from Parks and Recreation. You know, tweet yourself. Did I say tweet yourself? Treat yourself 2020 is what I meant to say. As, you know, good old Aziz Ansari used to say, on Parks and Recreation, and a lot of us have definitely been doing that. Let's be real. But I mean, you've also purchased brand new equipment in terms of this podcast setup, the microphone that you're talking into. Yeah. In case people haven't noticed, and the quality of the audio much better. You got the same mic that I also purchased for myself. Coincidentally enough, also in the pandemic. Isn't that interesting? The Blue Yeti microphone with a really like fluffy, fancy foam, and then a pop filter on top. So it is definitely much improved. But yeah. I mean, it's hilarious. That we really kind of, and keeping this in mind though, it's not as if like we all like talk to each other and it's like, hey, let's like spend all our money. No, we just kind of like we voluntarily went into these excursions ourselves. That's how bad it kind of has gotten.
It's just this constant fuck it, I'm buying it,
right? You know me so well. That's exactly what happened. I think the other day, it's like, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm buying it. I don't give a fuck. What else am I doing?
It's like, it's weird. Like, I just kind of like, I'm sitting down, I'm watching TV or something, and I just kind of go, what can I buy right now?
We've become Like, I swear to God, like there are several times a day where like, you know what I'm not doing right now? I need to be on eBay. Or I need to go on Etsy just to see what I can buy. Oh my God.
Same. Oh my God. And it's always like I said, I'm watching a lot of TV and movies. So like I'm looking at something and I'm really liking it. And like I just look up like, is there merchandise of theirs or something? Or
no, man, that's exactly what like a lot of the stuff that I had got. Because I had wanted to shake up my room with, wanted to introduce like different kinds of colors and posters, and to speak of you and I haven't had this discussion, although I think I did mention this to Peter last week, but I really did like the and you see it behind me, you might have seen it better in the photo, but the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. poster that I got, really, I think that was my favorite poster they've done. And it was the last one. I love the color scheme, the design of it, as far as like, and then the stylized version of the characters being like half live action, half animated, a little bit right there, like comic books almost. It's really, really good. And it was, I have a lot of posters, in my room, and I love them all. And it's always like a special like occasion for me where I get so excited when it gets here. I open it up, I put it, I frame it, and then it's up there. This one though, it felt so different because we are in the midst of like the last like that is the poster for the last season of this show that I've watched for the last 7 fucking years. And it was getting to me. In that, in the Director and the Jedi documentary with Rian Johnson, there is this, and I think it was even also trending on Twitter, this particular segment from it where Mark Hamill goes in to see Frank Oz puppeteering Yoda, and they're kind of prepping for the scene where Yoda and Luke would be in The Last Jedi. And the camera pans over to Mark, and he's looking at Yoda, and he's like getting really emotional. He said, "This is really getting to me. Like what a moment that was." And it did, of course, it dawned on me when it finally came, and right before I framed it, I was just like, just admiring it basically, and getting emotional at like, wow, this is kind of a moment, this is like a moment in time. And, for those who don't listen to Beyond the Shield, the Shield family has been kind of an extension of my own. They mean a lot to me. They really do. And it just got me so melancholy, I guess is the right word to say, about putting that poster. I know we're talking about a poster. Fuck off. It meant something to me. Not you. I meant like other people.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, and then I have others that are coming. I mentioned it to Peter last week that I had purchased a Mondo poster of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which should be arriving. And then I also got a new one for Endgame. The Endgame poster that I have right now, I'm replacing it with a better one that I think is not just like better in general, but I think will fit better with a lot of what is surrounding it. So like to me, and this seems to have become an annual thing where every summer I just get the sudden urge, the sudden urge to like, you know what? I want to change some stuff. I want to move some things around and everything. So yeah. And the same way that, Kyle's record collection's been building, and I know, I was having some FaceTime with Alexis, and I noticed her room, and she's also moving things around and getting ready to put some things up. She still hasn't been able, and I think she's getting lazy about this. You need to push her, but she needs to really put the rest of her ears. You know, she is a big collector of Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse ears that they have at Disney parks, and she has so many of them, and she still hasn't like put them up. How long have you lived there now, and she hasn't done that?
It's like a year and a half now.
Yeah. Time to get going. Yeah, and I know you guys. Like,
I would, but I would tell her. I would tell her to like hurry it up, but then she's gonna be like, "Will you help me?" And I'm like, I don't know.
I mean, you don't gotta involve me in that. It's really your thing. I mean,
yeah.
That's cold. But whatever. I mean, I mean, what does she need help with?
Well, she can't reach because she puts it like on top of the room. I told
her to get a ladder. You have nothing at the house that she can use to, like, I don't know, climb on?
I mean, yeah, but I don't know. I guess she's lazy.
It takes work, people. All right, it doesn't. It's not easy making your room look good. Let's just be real about that. But yeah, that was basically a look into our lives, and we're not recording podcasts, which is a lot of times, believe it or not. Yeah. So, David, shall we go ahead? I know we're like 40 fucking minutes into this, but who gives a shit now? We should probably start talking about what it is that you have been watching the entire time on TV. But before you do that, I do want to say I actually did finally. I had mentioned this last week, and I said that I had been looking into starting a new show of some sort. I took the plunge. I started a new show. It's on Netflix. It's not a Netflix original series. It's from Pop TV, and that's a thing apparently. The first 5 seasons are on there right now, and I was like, you know what? This looks like something I need in my life right now. It looks funny. It is a comedy, so I started watching Schitt's Creek. Which I had encountered clips of, I think, in the years prior, but it's not something that I ever bothered to go look into myself. I am hooked in a really bad way. I am almost finished with season 2, and I'm already kind of depressed about when it's going to be over. No, like this happens. Like it's kind of like the same like vibe I get from like a New Girl or a Parks and Rec. It's like, oh my god, I love it. Like it's so, and the humor very much is a big part of it. And then, oh no, the end is near. And I'm like, I'm gonna get depressed again, and yada. Anyway, it is really good. I really love the show. Oh my god, it's basically these rich people. Like the kind of unbelievable rich people where like they are kind of in a different reality. They lose it all. And they have to move to this small town, believe it or not, like smaller than Brawley, that they somehow purchased years and years ago. And now the show is basically them living there and trying to make the town better so that they can sell it and move and get back to their lives. It is hysterical. It honestly is. I think it's really, really good. And from what I hear, it's getting a lot of great reaction now that it is on Netflix, and that the Emmys are going to recognize the series in the comedy categories, from what I'm hearing anyway. So it's good. I love it. And
it sounds cool.
Yeah, I think you'd like it. I think it's funny to me. Like that's really my kind of humor. Like, I mean, let me give you one example. I was just the most recent thing I saw is that the mother of this family is trying to run for city council. and she thinks that she's at like she's trying to woo over this crowd of people to give her their endorsement, and she writes the speech and everything, and she's convinced that the coalition, the group of people that she's speaking to, are a group of lesbians. And it turns out that no, that's not what it is. They're just small business owners. And so she doesn't realize that until like literally the moment comes for her to give her speech, and she's having to, I think she's made the decision she's going to just go ahead and read the speech she wrote anyway. And it starts off with, "I believe in equality." And I had to pause it there because I knew, oh my God, it's going to be a fucking train wreck. You see, like that's, it's good. Watch it.
Yeah. That's always like weird for me to watch. Just like, it's something embarrassing.
It's awkward. It's awkward.
Like,
so I have to pause it. Like that's how I am too. It's like, I know it's hilarious, but like, I don't want to cringe and like, oh my God, I already know where this is going. And like, oh God. So I need to like pause and like get myself prepared. And sometimes if it's like really embarrassing, I kind of have to skip through it because I can't like physically like expose myself to that. There was a sequence in Love, Simon a few years ago where this high school kid in the middle of a football game, like the halftime or whatever, in front of the whole school with bleachers packed and everything, like asks this girl out to homecoming or prom or whatever, and it's gonna be a complete like abject rejection, and I refused to watch. I didn't watch the sequence. I literally skip and I didn't see it because I can't stand that.
Yeah, no. When I watched The Office, there's a lot of embarrassing scenes, but every time it will happen on an episode, I literally just stop watching it and like I'll watch it the next day.
Yes,
it's just kind of like that's how much I have to prepare for it. Or like whenever I'm watching something on my phone, like a show on my phone, and I know something embarrassing is about to happen, I just throw it like towards the end of my bed and just wait for the scene to end.
Yeah, sometimes I have to close my eyes too, or I have to look away because I know. I guess we're weird that way, but like, I don't know. Like that stuff like gets to me, so I can't like. It's just awkward seeing people like go through like public humiliation like that. It really is.
Yeah.
Oh God. So I'm loving Schitt's Creek right now. I recommend it, and it's on Netflix. So with that, I think the only thing I have to say is that I am currently in I finished season 6 of Doctor Who at my rewatch. And my latest observations is that, you know what, it seems to have really thrown my observation, like, as, Matt Smith as a doctor into like a little bit of a spin, because I really liked his doctor, but I really forget. And this happens on every rewatch. I forget how damn charming that man is. I mean, so that's where I'm at so far with Doctor Who, and I should be starting season 7 soon, which is fitting because that's the last one with him. And then, of course, we got on to Peter Capaldi. So that is where I am. I'm wondering, though, David, have you had the chance to catch up on Doctor Who?
No.
So, let me, okay, wait. We've got 16 things here. You've told me we've got 16 things that you've seen in the pandemic, but you're also saying that you haven't gotten the chance to see the 12th series of Doctor Who, at least the episodes that you had left to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why. I can't get into it. It's really sad, honestly. Like, yeah, I mean, I'll get to it.
Just
someday.
To keep in mind for people who are not aware, David is a huge fan of Doctor Who. Loves it.
I binge watched it like a bunch of times, and like when I actually get HBO Max, chances are I'm gonna like rewatch the whole thing before I even finish the 12th season.
Yeah, it's not even on there yet. No,
It's not? I thought it
no,
was.
because I've been watching it on HBO Max, courtesy of Kyle, which, by the way, you also have access to.
Yeah, I know. But...
So, like, that's what I've been watching it, but I don't think the 12th season is on there yet.
No, okay. Well, either way, I'm probably gonna rewatch the whole series before I even get to 12. So, talk about the shows that I've watched. The first few I'll mention. Peter already mentioned them in the past podcast. But Upload, Good Omens, and Hannibal. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, those ones he already mentioned them, and I agree they're really good shows. Although I do find Good Omens better than Upload, but that's only because of David Tennant.
I mean, that's kind of a big deal, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. But but I agree. All these shows are amazing. Hannibal it's freaking insane, but I love the investigations, and it's pretty insane just like how much they build up the relationship between the main character and Hannibal. Good Omens, it's hilarious. So is Upload, and what I like about Upload is that perspective of, you know, living your life and all that, or being in the afterlife, basically. And yeah. And then another show I saw, it's called Nun Warrior. It's came out a few weeks ago on Netflix. It's about basically these group of nuns, I guess, that fight off demons. The main character is someone who holds the power of like an angel, like she holds a literal halo on her back and has like special abilities. And it's pretty cool. You know, the main character, she kind of gets thrown into this world, and she kind of like, she doesn't want to save the world, but at the same time she knows that it's a big responsibility to hold and all that. And I kind of like the progression between her wanting to live her life but to also take responsibility of the halo. One thing I'll mention though, there's this one part where you meet this character and his acting was so weird. But yeah, like he was supposed to kind of like show a bit of mystery within himself, and he did that pretty well. But this one weird thing is that his mouth was open all the time.
Okay.
It was weird. So like he'll say like a line, and then all of a sudden he'll like stare at the character, just kind of like at his mouth like really wide open for some weird reason. It was so weird. Like I honestly recommend like watching a video about it, or finding a clip of it or something.
And he always does this.
Yeah, like as soon as you see him, like his mouth is open, and like he'll talk, you have it closed for like a second, but then just go back to opening it up. And I wish I can explain just how he looks, but it's almost like it's kind of like, it's just like a dumb face, like he's trying to figure out the next line.
Is there any reason given for why he does that, or is it just a character trait?
I think it's just a character trait. I don't know. Yeah, it was weird. It was towards the end of the season that you meet this character, and my one complaint, it really ended on a big cliffhanger. I kind of wish they would have done more.
Was there more left of the show?
What do you mean?
Was that like a season finale or a series finale?
Season finale. Yeah. But I'm hoping for a second season and see what happens next. This show I saw a long time ago, but I decided to rewatch it. The Boys. Its second season's coming out September.
Okay. I haven't seen it, but I saw I think a clip that was released this week, maybe through Comic-Con or for something that because they had Comic-Con at home, I think, or something. But they released a clip of an upcoming episode for The Boys, which is going to come back on Amazon. Wow. What show is this? Because I have to admit, I'm terrified of whales. but what I saw was kind of disgusting, like to the point where I really was like turned off by it. I mean, basically, you see a whale fucking like torn to pieces. What is this show?
So basically, imagine. So it's a world where there's superheroes, and just imagine if the Justice League were a bunch of assholes that just want to get away with everything they do.
Oh boy!
Like, yeah, it's pretty messed up. Like some of the things like they could get away with, and just kind of like they have this attitude of like I could do whatever the fuck I want. I mean, actually, that's a literal line actually of. Yeah, it's I just remembered it. It's this one hero, Homelander. He's basically the Superman of the group and the most powerful one. And at one point, he kind of like he goes up to someone who gives them like a investigation to help them stop a crime or something. And he actually goes up to this character and goes, "Do you know who I am? I'm Homelander. That means I can do whatever the fuck I want." Like that's a literal line he says. And so yeah, but you follow this guy who just like he barely realizes just how messed up these heroes are, and he teams up with the boys basically and try to like expose every single hero of what they've done.
Wow.
But it's a really, really good show, honestly.
I hear a lot of people talk about it.
I would recommend it. Yeah, it's I guess it's messed up like what they get away with, but it's to me at least I didn't find it like depressing.
No, of course not. Like... It was just like, well, that was something. Yeah.
But the clip you saw though, that's gonna be in the second season.
Yeah.
So
I know. Okay.
Yeah. Another show I'm rewatching is Person of Interest. That one's about this guy. He built a machine that's basically like spying on everyone, emails, phone calls, and all that. But it's able to investigate attacks, basically criminals. It was able to tell when a giant attack is going to happen, or basically when someone is going to get hurt or murdered. But the guy that made it though, he made 2 lists: relevant and irrelevant. The relevant ones, if there's going to be like a mass destructions. The irrelevant ones are just going to be some robbery or just an assassination or something.
Okay.
Yeah, but the guy he takes his time to actually like save the people in the irrelevant list, and it just keeps getting like bigger and bigger. They find out some corrupt cops, like an organization of corrupt cops. They stop that, but then they also had to stop another secret organization that's basically trying to take over like the world, basically. And it builds up to them fighting another machine, basically, that is able to hack into anyone. Okay. And so it's just like, and so it just like leads, and someone says it's like, all right, now we just gotta watch 2 gods face each other. It's like, that's basically how it kind of leads to. It's pretty cool.
You're watching this on Netflix? I kind of recommend it. Okay, yeah. So I looked up the series right now. That it was a CBS show from 2011 to 2016. And that J.J. Abrams was the producer on this.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. What I really liked about it is the friendship between the guy that built the machine and the guy he hired to like save the people. Because they're both like very secretive people, but as the show progresses, though, they open up to each other, and it's really nice.
He is all right. So the main producer for this show is Jonathan Nolan, who is the brother of Christopher Nolan. Oh. So, and we've been talking about him for a long time on this show, trashing him basically for being a dumbass.
Yeah.
For wanting his movie to open up. He got his wish. I don't think it's going to work out the way he wants it. But that's interesting. All right. Jonathan Nolan. Nepotism. Yay.
Yay. Okay, so the next show, I feel like I talked about it the last time I was on the main.
Remind me though, it's been
this.
2 months. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
No.
But I mean, I loved it this much. But Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. I think is it Zoe? Oh god, I gotta look it up. Zoe?
I don't think I've ever heard of that. Zoe's Extraordinary. What?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I was right. Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. It came out this year, in the beginning of this year, and it's about this woman. She goes to get an MRI scan, and by some weird thing, an earthquake happens, and all of a sudden she's able to read people's thoughts, but it comes out as songs.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. The concept is very weird. Okay. But so every episode there's always like a dance number. You see some pop music coming out and everything. It's really funny, but what I love though, it wasn't really the music, it was the characters themselves. The main character, she constantly has to like confront whatever these people are feeling and kind of fix their problems, because she just doesn't really have a choice. If she ignores it, the music just gets more and more intense, that she'll just start hearing it everywhere, even if like the person's thoughts that she was listening to is not there. Yeah. And so like you just get different characters in every episode just trying to fix their problems. One of them wants to come out to her church group as a transgender. Another one, she kind of like has to fix her marital problems. Her husband's like, I guess, neglectful of her. Ugh, that was a weird word. But then she also has to deal with her dad, who's like slowly dying, just basically becoming a vegetable and slowly dying. It sucks, but again, I really recommend it. I love the show.
Okay, that's that's not a premise I've heard before.
Yeah. Yeah, again, weird premise for sure, but honestly, like those music numbers, as fun as they are, as much as I like the music that they use sometimes, it really is the characters that made us stand out on the show. Good. And then the last two shows are DC shows. I have mentioned this on like, I think on the Avatar episode of Stargirl. It's
CW
on
or CBS?
DC Universe.
That's still a thing?
Or yeah.
Yeah, because they announced recently that they're no longer offering annual memberships. Yeah.
Really? No, yeah. Well, Stargirl, it's on DC Universe, but it's also on the CW. And just recently they announced though it's getting a second season, but it's only going to be on the CW, which kind of worries me. I love the CW shows, mind you, but Stargirl, like from the first episode, I was kind of like, wow, this is something great. Like this is gonna be great. And it's the first season, it's only 13 episodes on its 11th, but I really like the main character Stargirl. The way they use like the way they show her fighting style in the show. So she has like this magical staff that has a mind of its own, and so they just she constantly has to like do gymnastics around it, just kind of like fight other criminals. The way they show it, it's awesome. And then just the other characters are pretty cool too.
That's really interesting that it went to the CW. It's do they really need another superhero show? Like I feel like HBO Max kind of needs more programming, because I know that as far as and all like didn't Doom Patrol, I think you're gonna talk about that show right now anyway, that it went from DC Universe to HBO Max, and then Harley Quinn.
Yeah, Harley. Well, the thing for Stargirl, it fits the demographic that CW is trying to push.
It seemed that way, but what makes you worry that it won't fit there? Do you think that was it like more like mature than the other CW shows, or what was different about it?
Well, it's not that it's not gonna fit in the CW or anything. It's just that for one thing, the graphics in Stargirl, they're really, really good. And I know that as soon as they go into the CW, and because they have like 5 other DC shows where they use like a lot of CGI, it's the quality's gonna go down on that. But then also their shows go on for 20 something episodes. And again, with Stargirl, it's only 13, so like the story's condensed and like the story really progresses. And so with Stargirl, they add more episodes. It's just going to lead to, I feel like, a lot more like kind of useless episodes, but also just kind of going back on the character. So like she'll learn one lesson, but then they just completely go back on it on the next. And like you see that
seems
a lot
to be
the
trade-off with the CW is that if you're doing good or you're popular, you'll be around for a while, but the trade-off is you'll never leave. Like the thing about the CW is, yeah, you're good. We'll keep you for 15 seasons. What?
Yeah.
That's not healthy for a television show of any kind. 15 seasons.
I mean, the one thing that could help it is that Stargirls, she's not a big character in like the comic books, you know? Like it's very small, so I feel like whatever villain they throw in or anything, like they can make a good story out of it, you know? So it's like with the Flash and Arrow, you know, they have like really big villains. The Flash specifically, he has a lot of villains, but to make a big one in every single season, they sort of like limit themselves. And so you just, it's just like, again, with the Flash, you know, he does kind of go back on, he like at one point he'll be like, oh, I was being a dick, I'm sorry. And like, he'll learn a lesson, but then on the next season, he'll do the same thing
You're
again.
not the first one to bring that up.
Just has to
and I don't think people will be surprised. I think I did watch most of season 3 of The Flash years ago. And I liked it. But from what I hear, people are kind of giving up on that show.
Yeah.
Not giving up as in like it's awful, but it's just like it's frustrating to watch at times because they do that with what you just said with that character. It's interesting. What I find most interesting about this is what, like, you know, DC Universe is basically dead in the water. But we've known that for like a long time at this point. You are, you know, one of the only DC Universe subscribers ever, it seemed like. But to their credit, they seem to have produced a lot of really good material that now others are going to benefit off of. You know, it seems like Titans was the only show that wasn't overly loved. And even then, I think you did enjoy it. But like there were other stuff that they had, like Swamp Thing, which I guess now CW is going to get to air since they themselves, for whatever reason, mysteriously canceled it before they even aired all the episodes that they paid for. Then there's like Harley Quinn and Doom Patrol, which are runaway hits that now HBO Max is going to be basically benefiting from. And then Stargirl's now going to the CW. It's just interesting that, you know, for the most part, this streamer has put out some good material, and now it's like, well, it was nice while it lasted.
It really was. Yeah. I mean, Doom Patrol, it was amazing. I still need to watch the second season.
It's on HBO Max, and again, you have access to it if you want it. Like, Kyle had the login.
They're still showing the second season on the DC Universe app, actually.
Interesting. Yeah. I thought that they were gonna. Okay, well that's better then, I guess. I mean, and it makes sense for you guys, right? Since you have it. But like, what my impression was is that season 2 would be exclusively on HBO Max, which that would have been bullshit.
Yeah, I think HBO Max people might get it earlier. I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. It's weird, but I mean, either way, like I can still watch it on DC Universe. But yeah, but with Stargirl though, like I know for sure that the quality of the CGI is gonna go down. I'm just kind of worried where they're gonna take the characters through this whole thing.
Yeah, the CW is prone to, showing too much of a good thing. That's just the problem with them. And what was the other DC show?
Harley Quinn, actually. Yeah, its second season ended this year, and this was an awesome show. Oh my god, it's so hilarious. It's it's kind of messed up jokes, but still freaking hilarious.
I've seen, it is
but also
very unique.
The way they took,
from what I've seen, yes, you're right about the jokes. They are,
yeah. But what I love the best though is what they did with the Harley Quinn character. They really like took their time to kind of like let her get over her breakup with the Joker, but also try to make her become independent on her own and kind of deal with like what she's been through because of the Joker. You know, and, like they really took their time. I mean, I guess I'll kind of spoil it, but there was an episode where they actually go into the mind of Harley Quinn,
like Inside Out.
Yeah, basically, and what was she trying to do, or what was she? I mean, basically, she kind of wanted to prove to Poison Ivy, like I never had a choice in like becoming Joker's girlfriend or becoming a criminal, basically. And then she finally sees the memory where she like goes down that acid thing where she makes her skin pale, and she realizes, no, actually, I did choose to jump. I did choose to be with him. Like Joker didn't push her or anything. She wanted to do it, and she kind of like, okay, I guess that was my fault. But she realizes though that she's always had a choice in everything that she's done, and so then she decides, you know what, that day, that's not my origin story. This right now is going to be my origin story, and that's like, no. My origin story now is when I left Joker. And so it's just like a great way to show that just because you messed up at one part, that doesn't mean you can't start over.
Right.
You know, it was a great episode. And like there's a bunch more stuff like that throughout that series. Again, its second season ended. I don't know if it's going to get a third. I really hope so. Those writers were amazing.
I'd be surprised if it doesn't. I haven't seen it, but man, I mean, I've heard a lot of fanfare about it. Like this one's really kind of a crown jewel in many ways, because it is not at all, I think, what it sounds like on paper. When you think about an animated Harley Quinn show, well, okay, you think like something in the vein of like the feel of a Batman the Animated Series. No, it's not that. It's really it's really crass, and that's used in a bad way, but I don't mean it in a bad way here. It's really mature. Think like Archer or a Rick and Morty. I think kind of intensity to it. I think that's more. It has more in common with the kind of vibe you get off of those shows than like a Batman the Animated Series, which is, I think, unique, an interesting way of looking at DC. For all of the troubles that they've had in terms of like the big screen, for all the troubles that Warner Brothers has really fucked up a lot of the big screen entries in the DC canon, what I've been really continuously impressed by is the persistence and really the strength, the deep bench of characters that the DC comics have, that you can do so many different iterations of the characters, but in a new way. They're still finding new ways of doing it. Like the number of DC shows that are being produced right now, that are coming, that we know of, are honestly and they take such big swings with it, especially in the TV side. Like DC's always had great television material, like they've always have, and the kind of risks that they take in their shows are what I would hope, although I'm very doubtful of, that Marvel takes a page from and starts to do more of that stuff with Disney Plus. And even like they have a very late, like the thing about Marvel is that they're very much like stringent on canon and like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, whereas DC doesn't give a fuck and they just do whatever they want. I mean, we're gonna have so many different versions of Batman. We have the Matt Reeves Batman. We have the crime show that will be with the Robert Pattinson Batman. Then there's the Snyder cut thing coming with a different Batman. Like they that's how they're able to get away with like just doing different iterations. Like they no longer give a fuck, and I think it's gonna work out to their advantage. Whereas I think it's really cutting off all of the interesting parts of what they could do with different iterations of the MCU. I mean, honestly, like it seems like Disney just does not appreciate, and they will not let it because of the brand, nor will Kevin Feige seemingly approve it because it's not under his direction, or it wouldn't be, or he has no time for it. But like, I think a Deadpool kills the Marvel Cinematic Universe Disney Plus special would be hilarious. I think that would create a lot of conversation. The fact that they're not going to do Deadpool 3, it seems like anytime soon at all, is disappointing and disheartening, because that was a variety of Marvel that wasn't, so dependent on Feige and the MCU. And it's just so disappointing when I see like every DC show doing something fresh and new and interesting. And Marvel, it's kind of like my relationship with Marvel right now and the Marvel Studios. Think back to that conversation that Thor had with Loki in Thor Ragnarok in the elevator, right after they get out, and Loki tries to betray Thor again before he's off to get a ship to get off Sakaar and go back to Asgard. And at that point, like, for the first time in the whole like series, Thor outsmarts Loki, and then Thor says to Loki, I would hope that we could like get through this, but you don't seem to want to change. And that's just kind of how I feel about like all of the MCU stuff. It's like, it can be fun. It most likely will be entertaining, but it just is more of the same. And there's no risks that are being held, at least from Kevin Feige, the creative. The only kind of risks and the only kind of interesting stuff that I do see is the people that he happens to hire on occasion that are interesting. Like Sam Raimi doing a Doctor Strange movie is so out of left field, but that sounds so fucking great. That of course that is inspired. That truly is something that is more interesting than it would have been. So I think we're just beginning to see the dawning of a new era, as Kyle would say, where DC is going to begin to really take off. Not just with the shows, because the movies, they got some pretty great movies that are in development that we got going on. Like, from what I understand, they want to keep Matt Reeves around for 3 Batman movies. That man is an amazing director. And watch out, especially since like James Gunn doing a Suicide Squad movie. That's so exciting. That just sounds so fucking good. So like, yeah. And Marvel Studios is doing, I guess, a Blade movie or a Disney Plus show. They really weren't like at all specific about what that was going to be, and it was a great casting with Mahershala Ali, but still there's a lot better things that they could do that they don't seem to want to reach for, it seems like, with a lot of the shows that are coming up. Like WandaVision, I hope that it's like interesting, and that it's like they filmed it in front of a live studio audience from what they said. So
yeah, that one I'm excited for, just because it looks insane, but like as insane as Doom Patrol. And so I'm kind of hoping they nail it with the way Doom Patrol did it. But yeah, I mean, just the biggest problem with the CW shows is, like you said, they oh, it's good. Let's give it 15 seasons. But it's like, no, like get the writers to think of an ending. And
that's kind of the thing. They never really want to end anything, and they latch on to whatever they have. It's like it is network television, and there are limitations on there, but they never want to let go of anything. Like I've even lost track of all the shows that they have on there. I know that they have The Flash, and they just finished Arrow, but there's still, I guess, Supergirl. They're doing a Superman show, I think. Black Lightning, Legends of Tomorrow. I forgot about that one. Batwoman. There's a lot of stuff going on there.
What I'm hoping they learn from Stargirl at least is that they don't have to rely on the big characters. So like, I mean, I doubt it, but I do hope that they're kind of thinking, you know what, let's end some of our shows now and let's focus on creating new characters within this universe. So like, next season of Supergirl or something, they bring in, I don't know a lot of DC characters, but they just try to bring in someone new that can lead into something bigger.
We had a conversation a few weeks back with Peter about Sabrina being canceled at Netflix, and on our chat we had an internal back and forth about whether or not the CW would be a perfect fit for that show. What do you make of that? Do you think that would be a fitting home?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't even finish the first season of Sabrina, but I kind of got a feeling that it is kind of like Riverdale. And the thing though, Riverdale, it's not that good, but it's a really great guilty pleasure for me.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I'm like caught up with Riverdale, and I don't know why I love it so much, even though it's not that great.
We all have those.
Yeah. So and I think that's kind of what Sabrina could be with the CW. Like I know some people would probably be like, why put it in if it's gonna be bad, But some people just like that. So go for it.
I'd imagine it'd be a hit with the CW. Especially if you do crossovers with that in Riverdale. I mean, and they're all about crossovers over there. So I just feel like if there is a opportunity, and since, of course, the CW is looking for more programming, that's why they're going to air Swamp Thing out of nowhere. Hell, they might even renew Swamp Thing if it's a hit. So you never know. You never know where this takes you. The opportunities that are going to be had there. But yeah. So those are the shows that you watched. What did you see movies?
Oh yeah.
We're only getting started here, guys.
I know. Just an hour and a half.
Yep.
It's fine. So the first one, I'll just mention this briefly. Artemis Fowl. I mentioned it in Fantasy Fair. But yeah, it was fine. It was very much a
it looked so weird. It looked so weird. Tell me about. I don't mean to cut you off here, but like, yeah, they were gonna set up 15 movies. That's never gonna happen now.
Yeah.
What is going on with Josh Gad and Judi Dench? What the hell were they in this movie? Because I just look at like pictures of them and I'm like, what the fuck are they going for?
Josh Gad, I thought he was pretty cool in the movie. He? I think it might have been the best thing about the movie, honestly.
He was a narrator? He was a narrator?
Yeah, he was narrating the movie, and he also had like a bit of a role in it, being like what was he? A dwarf or something? I can't remember. But yeah, he had like a part in the movies. I saw a few reviews, and some of the comments, people were complaining about his voice being kind of like Batman in Batman Begins. Like, where are they? Or something like that. It didn't really bother me much. But I mean, it wasn't that deep or anything, but it didn't bother me at all about his voice or his acting. Again, I thought he was the best thing about the movie. And then some people were saying that the plot was kind of complicated. I thought it was very straightforward. It kind of takes a while to realize what's happening, but that's kind of what's intended, because it's supposed to be a surprise as to how the main kid, Artemis Fowl, he's supposed to sort of like get away with in the situation or get what he wants in the situation. It's supposed to be a surprise, but then once you kind of like, once they finally reveal it, you go, oh, okay, this all makes sense now. So I don't know what people are talking about the plot being complicated. But I mean, other than that, it was fine.
Yeah. Next thing.
Which one? I saw that, I think it's called Never Surrender documentary. You know, that one that Screen Junkies made or something?
They made a documentary?
Yeah, it's about the about creating that one movie, Galaxy Quest, with Tim Allen, Alan Rickman.
I've heard of it. So I didn't know they made a documentary about it.
Yeah, they did. It was really cool. It was really cool. It's just kind of so if you don't know, Galaxy Quest is about these basically like Star Trek actors, basically, being up in a situation where they actually go to space and with aliens and fight other aliens and all that. And it's just supposed to be a love for science fiction, for fandom, you know. And that's kind of what the documentary is trying to show, trying to like tell you that that's what the movie is about, but also kind of shows you the struggle it had to go through to be made. Some studios found it ridiculous and everything, but when they talk about like the actual makings of it, they were very surprised that Alan Rickman, Tim Allen, wanted to be in this movie, and they put him like in the main role basically, he was great in it, and then just like all the fun parts that they shot. It's really cool. It was really cool. I recommend it. I mean, definitely watch Galaxy Quest first, and then documentary. Both films are good.
Okay.
I saw Extraction.
Okay.
It's fine. What's
Chris
his name?
Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth. You know, he's cool. He's an action star, so he's great in it. I did like some of the action. It was cool. You can see just some of the problems though with some CGI. Not that great, but it's fine. But either way, just some cool action, some cool scenes and all that.
And that one is, according to Netflix, their most popular movie ever.
Yeah. I don't know about that, but okay. Next one is My Spy.
The Bautista movie? Where did this drop?
This dropped, I feel like it was last month.
On which streamer? Amazon. This was
Prime.
the Dave Bautista movie with a little kid. How was this one?
It was cool. Yeah, I mean, Bautista, he was hilarious, and there was some other actress, I can't remember her name, but you know, they were both really funny, and then the story was nice too. He's a spy who kind of like keeps to himself, but after training this, he gets caught by a little girl. His operation gets caught, but through teaching this little girl how to be a spy, he kind of like opens up more and everything. It was nice. What was it? Oh yeah, here it is. The Old Guard.
The Old Guard on Netflix,
This one
right?
just came
Yeah.
out.
I read a little bit about this one. This was interesting about these immortals, basically.
Yeah, these immortals, they try to do some good out in the world and everything, but at one point though, one of them just kind of is like, you know, fuck the world. It can burn for all I care. But at the time that was Charlize Theron's character. That was she said that. But in that time, they find out about a new immortal coming about, and they get into a situation where someone finds out about them, and they just kind of have to get out of their situation, survive it, or I guess just get out of it since they're immortal. And it's good. Again, another great action movie. Charlize Theron is amazing. And one thing I found kind of interesting about this is that, so The Old Guard is a comic book originally. This is an adaptation, but the guy who wrote the comic book was also the writer for the movie, and that's actually just really rare, especially for comic books, to just have like the original writer adapted to the movie. I mean, the closest we got was J.K. Rowling writing for Fantastic Beasts, but that kind of became a mess. But I saw
it did.
but I saw an interview though with the writer of the movie and the comic, and he said that the studio really like gave him a lot of time to work on this, and they really did think about, okay, is this whenever he wrote something, they'll ask him, is this in the comics or is this a change? And they just kind of want to know like every single detail as to why he made certain changes from the comics to the movie. Like the studios really took their time with him. And I really found that really interesting, and I'm curious what others would think about it, if it was a success, or they just found it interesting. Do they hope more of it? So yeah. Next one, King of Staten Island.
King of Staten Island, that is with what's his face? What's the guy's name again? The comedian from SNL. I'm blanking out on his name. I forget the name.
I get Pete Davidson. That's it.
That's right, Pete Davidson. Usually, this movie dropped recently on PVOD. Through Universal. Yeah. So what is this movie about?
It's just Pete Davidson's character. It's just kind of him going through a weird point of his life. He has depression, so and his dad died in a fire. His dad was a fireman, and he died in a fire, and he has depression. So it just kind of shows how that sort of messed him up, but he tries to kind of get out of it, almost like his depression, trying to make himself better. And I mean, I'm probably fucking up the story, but it's just kind of, you know what? Let me start all over. that was a horrible explanation. I'll just read
the description for the movie.
Yeah. Scott has been a case of arrested development ever since his firefighter father died when he was 7. He's now reached his mid-20s, having achieved little, chasing a dream of becoming a tattoo artist that seems far out of reach. As his ambitious younger sister heads off to college, Scott is living with his exhausted ER nurse mother and spends his days smoking weed, hanging with the guys. Oscar, Iger, and Richie, and secretly hooking up with his childhood friend Kelsey. But when his mother starts dating a loudmouth firefighter named Ray, it sets off a chain of events that will force Scott to grapple with his grief and take his first tentative steps towards moving forward in life. Okay, yeah, that's a better explanation. But yeah, and it's really cool, just kind of seeing his perspective on how he has to deal with all of it, but also just the way he's sort of forced to handle his situation and just move forward. It was really interesting. And Pete Davidson, he was great. He was really funny in this movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard good things about it.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And then I think, I started watching the Fast and Furious movies, mostly just 5 through 8.
Oh, really? That's random.
Yeah.
What spurred that on?
I was listening to a podcast, and these dudes were watching all of the Fast and Furious movies, and I was just like, you know what? I gotta start watching. I gotta watch them. I've been wanting to get into them for a while. Okay. So, yeah, but
I mean, you liked Hobbs and Shaw, right?
Good. Yeah, that's why I kind of wanted to get into it too. I saw that one and thought, why not watch them? And they're good. They're funny. They're fun. Cool action.
Stupid, but good stupid. I would assume with the cars. And everything.
Good. It was one of the most hilarious parts. what's it? Vin Diesel's character. He's fighting the bad guy on this like parking garage, and they're on the top, and this helicopter goes by and like shoots a missile, and like it misses them, but like the floor is cracking and everything. And Vin Diesel, like, he just says this like one liner of the thing about the streets always win, and like he stomps on the concrete, and like the whole thing collapses. And I was like, bullshit. Like, out of everything that happens in that movie, in that entire franchise, that's the one that kind of gets to me, like, laughing so much, and I just go, that's unrealistic.
That was a bridge too far for you.
Yes. Oh my god, I couldn't stop laughing, like, as soon as I saw it. It was hilarious, honestly. Yeah. But I mean, the Furious franchise, we're getting into.
Apparently, the next one's going to space.
Apparently, I saw the trailer for that one. Oh my god, that's the second like craziest thing I saw. Did you see the trailer?
Wait, did I? No, I didn't. No, I didn't. No.
Oh my god, you gotta watch it. I mean, I'll just tell you but like, this is one part. Again, Vin Diesel's character, he's driving a car, but he's going like off a ledge of a mountain, I guess. And the only thing like at the end is a bridge, but it's like rope and wood and all that. But he starts driving and drives off the mountain, shoots a grappling hook, and actually like starts swinging the car to like go to the next mountain over. And I go, that's awesome.
I think you just uncovered the $1 billion reason why people love these movies. It's just so hilariously like ridiculous and over the top. But that sounds amazing.
I honestly think you should watch it. It's just like I couldn't stop laughing at that. That's so ridiculous, but it looked awesome.
Wow.
Okay, last movie, Vast of Night.
The what?
Have you heard of this?
No,
Vast of Night. This came out in Fantastic Fest last year, and it just now recently was on Amazon Prime. Yeah, and I'll just say this: it's about two teenagers who hear a signal and try to investigate it. That's all I can say, because everything else is just, it's a very like a Twilight Zone episode. But it's really interesting. The two actors, they get a lot of dialogue in the movie, and it's just really impressive of them like watching them, and especially like a lot of it's just kind of like one shot, not the whole movie, but like a lot of it is one shot. And so just seeing these teenagers trying to they're teenagers in the movie, but they're adults obviously. But seeing them going through the dialogue, going back and forward as fast as they can, it's really impressive to watch. And one thing that I'm actually curious what you and like maybe even Peter or Kyle would think, but the director of it, this is his very first movie, and I think they say he's done commercials and all that, but his very first movie, like he's never done a short before, and so and it's actually really impressive watching the movie and thinking that, because he has he gets pretty creative with some of the shots and everything. Like at one point you see one teenager, like they're listening to the signal, and then the camera just moves out of their house and into like the small town that they live in, but like you're seeing the entire town. And the movie takes place like in the 60s, and this a very low budget movie, like you get the 60s vibes of it. And so it's weird. it's also really cool. I really recommend it.
Okay. Is that it? Wow.
Yeah.
I'll just get to this part now so we can get out of the way with Tenet is going to be coming out Labor Day, but only if your country has theaters that are open. There's a whole release schedule. You can look it up if you want to. I'm not really interested to see where it is. We're not going to get it anytime soon. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm not convinced if it's going to be doing that Anyway, I guess my ultimate question to you is, how do you feel about these studios exploring a fragmented release schedule where we're going to start having these movies that should have opened months ago that are not going to now that are going to open in the international markets that they are allowed to, and then we'll get it whenever we get it. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I get why they're doing it like that, because they want some money. But I mean, if other countries they're able to open, I say why not? I mean, it really depends on like how they've managed their spread, you know. So like if they're for sure safe,
I mean, of course, we wouldn't know what that looks like, right? Because we're in America and
we wouldn't know. Yeah, but I say, like, for now, just fucking don't make any plans anytime soon. At least for us here in the U.S. of trying to release it. Like,
yeah, I wonder if they're really going to go through with it, because if that is the case, someone's gonna upload the movie online anyway. And so but that always happens.
It's probably gonna be but wouldn't it be in another language though?
Well, not everyone. Not all countries that are foreign are like do not speak English. I mean, there's the UK.
I know, but I mean, you never know.
You never know, but that is true.
But I mean, either way though, like I'm not really rushing to watch any movie.
Yeah, no.
Really. It doesn't matter if it's Christopher Nolan or if it's the Black Widow movie or even the new Mutants. You know, like I'm not rushing to watch any new movie. If it's gonna be on Netflix, if it's gonna be on VOD, I'll watch them. But you know, if you're just trying to push something in theaters, it's probably gonna fail. Come on.
It's like a non-starter. It's not a good look, and we've been talking about this obviously every week. But it's just, the theaters want to make money, the studios want to make money, but it's just I feel, I don't know. I'm not a businessman, but I think it'd be a lot safer to just wait until things are good. I know. No one's in the luxury of doing that, and we've explained on this show why that is, because we have a dumbass Republican president who has made the situation worse, who has made it so impossible that we're not going to have any kind of recovery until a Democrat is elected into the presidency. So that's delaying things first and foremost. But these movies, these are smart investments. Tenet and Black Widow, they will make money. And when things are even halfway back to normal, people will go and people will see the movies and it will be a success. And I'd argue you would make more money than if you just dropped it on VOD at any point. Because there's really no money in that worth the expense of, what it takes to make those movies. But at the same time, you don't, even if you're able to release it, now isn't the time to release anything because there is no cure. There is no vaccine or a treatment of any kind. And until there is, theaters, even if, like, let's say the economy never locked down, let's say, even if we were doing a good job and everybody wore a mask, and the virus was like tempered to an extent, even then, even if things were that good, which believe me, they are not. They are nowhere near that good, and they won't be until a Democrat is in the White House. And why I say that is because we've established the GOP is a pro-coronavirus party, and they are pushing everybody out there to go die because why the fuck not? And we've discussed that, and that's what is happening here. But the reality is this. Even if things are great, indoor activity of any kind is just not going to do any good. It's going to do a lot of bad. Even if you do social distancing in a theater, you're still sitting in a darkened room with recycled air conditioning. Anybody coughs, it's going to blow back in your face. Like the fact this coronavirus whole like situation has kind of made, I feel, and this may be a good aspect of it, a little bit more self-conscious about the stuff that we put ourselves to on a normal basis. The fact that someone's cough may just be blown back in our faces because of the air conditioning realities of that space. The point is, movie theaters are a luxury, as are theme parks, and if the people who were managing our crisis were smart, they wouldn't allow that to happen. Those would be the very last thing, and it is unfortunate that they are suffering. But again, if we had a smart government, then everybody would be covered. Then everybody would be good. You know what? You're going to have to close for a year. But guess what? We'll be there for you, and we'll help you get back on your feet. Because it's not fair, and it's the decent thing to do. And no one would be wiped out because of a pandemic. But instead, we have people who not only are idiots, but don't care. And are doing everything they can to kill more people. By the way, as our weekly coronavirus death clock, I guess we're going to call it now, last week we were a little over 140,000 people dead. I checked this about an hour ago. The most recent count had 148,000 officially dead for coronavirus. We're going to cross 150, I would say, in about a day or two. We are now at the point where we are losing 1,000 lives a day. Things are far worse than they ever have been. Unemployment is about to be reduced significantly. Things are turning into a real shithole. And if that weren't bad enough, schools are now going to be like, you know what? Let's reopen. Yeah, let's have school. Because the kids will get over it. You know, it'll be fine. There's no real danger, right? To like going to school.
I saw a post that said, it's like, there's 6 feet of snow in this town. Okay, don't school today, kids. It's like, but then there's a pandemic, there's a virus going around that can kill you and all your family. Go to school. Why not?
Yeah, that's kind of the logic we're at. And I do want to also, in case that people don't understand or don't grasp what it is I'm talking about here, of course, I mean, you should already be aware that it's never a good idea to have a room full of people indoors. Clearly, in a pandemic, that's just not a good option. But, I mean, you don't have to take my word for it. There was this doctor that they have on CNN, Dr. Gupta. Actually, excuse me, it was MSNBC. This is not the Dr. Gupta from CNN. It's a different Dr. Gupta. But he said that it actually is far more safer to fly than to be in a school classroom for coronavirus. And if that's the case, why the fuck would you open them? Especially since a lot of these schools, from what I've been reading, are going so far out of their way to ignore any kind of, or actually they've gone so far out of their way that they're actually encouraging people to like, you know what? You don't have to wear a mask. It's okay. We're not going to have temperature checks. We're not even going to do any social distancing. Yeah. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and talk about the movie that we saw, because there are still movies that are being released, and this is no exception. And I'm quite happy to talk about this one. We David and I both recently saw this movie before coming on the air. And yeah,
literally just saw.
And this is one of the ones that was getting a lot of attention from Sundance Film Festival earlier in the year. Got a lot of great reactions, so much so that Hulu paid $22 million to buy the movie. Yes, so because they really needed something apparently. Palm Springs, which stars Andy Samberg, speaking of SNL, former SNL Variety, now The Lonely Island, and also Kristen Milotti, or Milotti, in this, what would you call this? This is a romantic comedy, although there's a lot more of it too than what that description even sounds like. This is the Groundhog Day situation. Time loop. It's a time loop movie. And
yeah.
I don't know if you were aware of that when I asked you to watch it. Were you? Okay.
Yeah,
because we had actually had this movie on to review for a couple of weeks now, and I think we were gonna review it last week, but I decided to hold off on that. But then again, this is just the weirdness of this is that kind of creepy in a little weird way, but like this particular time loop movie comes out at the exact same time that you and I do a review for a time loop episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, the timing is just... And then even more to the point, on this day, we just recorded the S.H.I.E.L.D., that S.H.I.E.L.D. episode earlier today. And here we are, and we're talking about another time loop situation that we have here. So... It evidently is the year for time loop movies. So just as we do with Letterboxd, I'll read the description of the film if it wasn't already clear. But here it is by our good sponsor Letterboxd right here. Directed by Max Barbakow. When carefree Niles and reluctant maid of honor Sarah have a chance encounter at a Palm Springs wedding, things get complicated as they are unable to escape the venue, themselves, or each other. That was pretty vague. I didn't give away the concept too much, although if you've seen the trailer, you know what this is. I was hoping ever so much that the movie was anywhere near as good as it ended up being. And I am happy to report that I really, really, really like this movie. I will be watching this again, and I wonder how it hits me the second time. But I think this may be, and keep in mind, it's not a competition of great variety here, because there hasn't been much of anything, but it may be my favorite movie of this year so far, because I think it's a very well made film by all accounts. I think it delivers on the comedy, although it's not a complete laugh out loud comedy, because there is some serious moments here. And there is great characterization here, and there is great acting in here as well. Writing hits really good in this. I dare say, though, this is like, I think it hits harder the fact that it's being released now. And that is, I don't recall, I think, a movie being so enhanced in the climate that it's released in. Because, yes, this is a time loop in the living every day, again and again and again. And of course, we'll get into more detail as we go along through this review. But, I don't know if you've noticed this, but more so than at any other point, we are kind of really relating in a way to what is happening here in a very dark way. like just on the surface of it, the premise of this is having to basically repeat the same day over and over again. And I actually want to read here an excerpt from one of the reviews that I read for the film. I wanted to see how people had responded to it, actually. And this is from The Verge. And they had a really interesting take on the movie in terms of like how it is really scarily relevant to the times that we're in at the moment. And here is the headline for this. Palm Springs is the perfect comedy for a world where nothing matters anymore.
Wow.
So, I very rarely take out other people's words, but I do want to credit them. This is Joshua Rivera writing for The Verge. An amazing piece. And it kind of like, encapsulates our thoughts. And I want to take this time to read from him. We're all tired. Every day runs together. An endless tangle of hours and screens and occasional bursts of daylight to recharge. Old routines take on new wrinkles. Meetings via webcam, masks to maintain and wear before outings, communal activities retrofitted to be done in isolation. Maybe we're not in a literal time loop, but it sure feels like one. A long, endless stretch of days where little changes and we're burnt out all the time. Enter Palm Springs, a movie for 2020's burnt out state of mind. I mean, doesn't that just describe what our lives have become?
I mean, I think I just realized why I like this movie now.
So, God, it hits harder. I really do think it hits harder because of this is perfect timing for a movie to come out, especially with this kind of premise, and especially with what it leaves you feeling here. At first blush, Palm Springs is another take on the Groundhog Day. Niles, Andy Samberg, is a dude with the terrible misfortune of having to relive an acquaintance's wedding day over and over again. But what makes Palm Springs stand out is how little it's concerned with its own premise. Of course, the time loop is all-encompassing and ever-present, but it's also a fact of life. At the start, Niles has been living in it for longer than he can remember. The only reason we learn about how it works is because something weird happens. Sarah, the sister of the bride, gets trapped in it too. And that's the movie. That's the movie. Mm-hmm. Is to seeing these people live in this fact. I think what is, one of the strengths of this movie, clearly, as it was just mentioned in that review, is that it's not so concerned with the fact that it is a time loop like genre, I guess. It's more concerned with, okay, what does it mean for our characters? What does it mean for who they are now that they're in this? And I think that's, I think any genre of storytelling is improved when you have characters. Hey, war dramas, you might want to pay attention to that whenever you make another movie. And not calling you out there, but I am calling you out there. It matters when you have people you give a shit about on the screen. And they do a really good job of giving you to care. I mean, making you care about them. And, first and foremost, the performances. Andy Samberg and Kristen... I don't know how to pronounce her name. Is it Milotti or... Milioti, Kristen and Andy, I think make each other's performances better. They're good. They're really good. But then they really are they really gel well together on screen. Like it pops. And it's one of those circumstances where their performance makes the others better because of it. And you buy into the dynamic that they are. And it's I got the sense early on And keep in mind, of course, there may be some spoilers here. I don't want to give it away too much. Yes.
Well, I mean, like I think I agree with everything we've been saying so far. Yeah, this is a really good movie. Andy Samberg and Kristen, they both kill it in the performances, in the comedy, and their relationship, but also just like in those hard moments where they kind of have to like accept the fact that they're in a time loop, possibly forever. And the story itself, it's really, really good. Also, J.K. Simmons is in it. He's like, it's a very small role, but like even he kills it too. But yeah, it's hilarious. It's well written, very well written. We highly recommend.
Yeah, I mean,
we can go.
Of course, it is it's interesting. I mean, of course, it is inherent in kind of the genre that it is. It is a time loop, but it also is like, if we're not going to be as specific as that, it is a comedy, but it also is sweet. It has heart. There's, I think some comedies, like let's say Eurovision, for example, which we reviewed a few weeks back, are have this reputation for not like taking things seriously and being like way too wacky to be taken as realistic in some sense, or maybe not even. That's not even the fair way of saying it, but like it may lack a little bit of the heart of it. Like, which is to say that there's a version of this movie that's already been made and nowhere near as good, where it's like the characters are like not even characters and they're barely likable and we're just going through the motions, and then things like there's a version of this movie that could have ended up being just very mundane and uninteresting. And there have been, I think, movies like that.
Well, the thing that I think what this movie did best is that with every other movie that we've seen, it just goes in line with, you know, you see their day and then they realize they're reliving it, and then they go, am I reliving the same day? I think I'm reliving the same day. Hey, I'm reliving the same day. And it's just like that's the pattern in every single movie. But with Palm Springs, though, you skip all of that. I mean, and you do have the, you know, when they realize they can do whatever they want now, you know, you get that, like the fun montage of them doing whatever they want. And like you get that in Palm Springs, but the best thing about this one, though, is that you have someone that's already been through this time loop for a long time now, finally having fun after who knows how long. Yeah,
the whole burden of having to set up this premise is just completely gotten rid of. We don't need that. And instead, they actually do tease it. When the movie starts off, it takes a little bit of time for the whole mention of a time loop to even be dropped. There's a bit that happens before we get to that moment. But there are clues. A little giveaways. I mean, there's something noticeably a little off about Andy Samberg and how he acts that kind of gives you a clue as to, okay, I think this guy's already like been going through this for a while. And I think it's even more confirmed in one of my favorite scenes at the wedding when everyone's dancing after he gives that speech, which was like, you think it's going to be a disaster. And it was like, whoa, that was like one of the best toasts at a wedding I've ever heard. And this guy's like a fucking stranger. He does a good job. And then, of course, he leans very much. What kind of like gave it away a little bit is how much his gaze is directly at Sarah. And Sarah has like no idea who the fuck this person is. And then later on, go ahead.
Well, what gave it away for me is just that, you know, you can tell that he doesn't care about anything going on, but he does everything else in confidence, and he doesn't screw it up. And so that's basically what the speech was. It's like he's the only one in this wedding that's just dressed in swim shorts and a Hawaiian shirt. Like he doesn't care, but he gives that speech, and like you said, it's perfect speech, and he does it with such confidence. And like, yeah, you see that that he's eyeing Kristen's character, and you just kind of go, okay, and I could tell right away, like, oh, okay, he's gonna like mess with her now in this time loop. Or this,
what I inferred from that is that you got the sense immediately that he already knows her. So like later on when there is a revelation, that spoilers by the way, there is a revelation, or should have already been clear, but just in case, it is a great movie. Go watch it. Later on in the movie, it is revealed to her that he already knew her from previous loops or whatever you want to say. And so I think I picked up on that. It didn't surprise me too much because I picked up on that immediately because he kept drawing his attention to her, and it wasn't just for whatever reason. You felt that there was a purpose to it or something. But one of my favorite sequences after the whole speech and everything is when everyone's dancing. And man, that was really like, you could see Andy Samberg just laughing his ass off inside when he like, tries to get her attention by basically inexplicably going through the motions of all of the different couples or people that are dancing and kind of mimicking them. And in some cases anticipating when they would fall. And so he pulls up a chair. That way the person doesn't fall flat on their face because he's already lived it. So there's a certain kind of swagger to him that you wouldn't have unless you knew what was about to happen. So you kind of get that sense almost immediately. And, to Andy Samberg's credit, like he really comes across as like down to earth and just kind of like cool about it. Like maybe he wasn't like the kind of person where like nothing matters before the loop happened. You get the sense that that's just who he has become because of how the loop has kind of, affected him in that reality. But he's just a guy. He's just cool with whatever this is. And you do get a sense, I think he's just maybe not happy, but comfortable with the situation that he's in because of what he's been able to do, basically, and the fact that there's no way out of it, at least so it seems. But yeah, like this I think had a really good balance overall with the humor and then also with the moments, because a lot of comedies that go for having every moment be laugh out loud, a lot of those movies just end up falling flat because the jokes fall flat. So I'm glad that it was never by design that this movie needed to survive on their jokes. And so they're spaced out. And when there are jokes, they almost always land, if not completely land. So that immediately, I think, is something going in this movie's favor. But then we also have we do kind of, because the benefit of having characters instead of just like actors embody their own personalities is there's characterization, there is development. We get to explore the psyche of these people, and I think what kind of connects the two of them is that they're naturally they're complicated people, shall we say. They're not caricatures. They're not straight up like one note, and and they take it in different ways. Sarah, Kristen's character, has a journey in this that she decides to, kind of have an arc because of this time loop. I want to go back real quick, if I may, for both Sandberg and for Melody from this review of The Verge that I was reading, and one that I find increasingly depressing. This is an amazing article, but this is what they write here. At this point, millennials are either comfortably in or approaching their 30s. There is a thought, kill me. An age they're socialized to believe brings stability. Oh, if only. That stability continues to elude us, thanks to a slow-motion, institutional breakdown and overnight disasters that extend into ongoing nightmares like the coronavirus pandemic. The sum of it all is overwhelming, beating down like the desert sun in the California resort town Palm Springs is named after. Which is... yeah, that's also a thing that happens, is that, we are close, if not to our mid-20s, the 30s aren't so far away, kill me. And a lot of the things that were promised to us that would be in our lives are not going to be in our lives. Oh, that's right, because the world's kind of going to shit. And that's not even as if it was in a good place already. So, okay. All right. And part of the conversations that are had, and I think all of the conversations had in this movie are actually really profound. And when Andy is like, why would you want to go back? Well, I mean, because there are, I think good arguments on either side for wanting to get out of this loop or staying in this loop. If you stay in this loop, you live forever. You don't age. You don't go back to any of the bullshits that exist in our society.
But then also, like, they could have died if they went through whatever the plan was. Because, she says the goat disappears, but, I mean, that could just mean that
it's dead.
It's literally disappeared from existence or something. I don't know. And so, but no, they make constant arguments of, like, I guess, what's it like to be alive, basically?
What does life mean when every day is the same?
Yeah, and you can either go with it of nothing really matters or everything matters. And it's a cool way to look at it. Again, this is why I really like that we're going straight into, like, we're past the whole
cliches,
figuring out
all the plot
what's going on, to even passing the whole, like, let's have some fun in this loop and the time loops and all that. And so you just got in. So it's just cool seeing Andy Samberg's character just basically having like a existential crisis in every single time loop, basically. And yeah, it's just a cool way to use that concept to look at what they're trying to tell.
Yeah, and to add on what you're saying here, again, I want to borrow from The Verge here, a wonderful, wonderful review of the movie. But look, the more I'm looking at this, the more this is really going to help this conversation. Look, going back to what this was saying. In a world like this, not caring comes easy. The time loop world. There's little to look forward to and not much to be gained by looking back. And Niles and Sarah really don't want to look back. They've each got secrets they'd rather spend eternity ignoring. Niles and Sarah start to fall for each other because in each other they can hide from who they were before time stopped. But eventually their relationship makes it very hard for them to exist, because when you start to love someone else, you have to think about the person you're going to be. And that's a question they'd rather not find an answer to. What elevates Palm Springs from clever dark comedy to poignant story is in the clarity of its moral vision, the belief that it's worth it to hold on to some kind of decency, even if literally nothing in the world matters. Palm Springs was conceived and filmed in a pre-pandemic world, but the allure of nihilism was already strong in an existence where many of the pretenses of equity or civic duty had been dispensed. The pull to withdraw and go numb was already strong. Now it's overwhelming. The cost of sticking your neck out is high, and the rewards are slim. What point is there in pushing forward and finding the way to break a cycle bigger than us? Or, more importantly, examining the ways we've helped hasten the rot. Over and over, Niles tells Sarah there's little that he hasn't done. Carrying the weight of it all doesn't get any easier when the world resets. He remembers, and that can be its own punishment, especially as he forgets, or claims to forget, anything about his life before the loop began. It's that part, the part before all this, that seems to haunt Niles the most. And while Palm Springs is a fun rom-com, it's a story haunted by the idea that we'd secretly be tempted by a world where nothing really matters, to absolve ourselves of responsibility. Of course, there's no guarantee that things will be better if we face what we're hiding from, but it'd almost certainly be a hell of a lot easier to live with ourselves, no matter how tired we are. Well, that got deep. Yeah, and that is the whole point of growth, right? Is through the process of time, you change. You do. grow into different people. And that part of the problem that is stuck in the time loop is you can't really grow. And while the review said right there that it does haunt Niles to an extent, that he can't remember what it was he did before this even happened, I think it also haunts Sarah to the point where it spurs her into action to fight for something, to fight for herself and who she wants to be by escaping this loop and becoming a better person of it. When she goes and basically learns physics, which I mean, I'm sure can come in handy. Yeah. Again, all of these themes. I mean, the review is right. These are ideas that we would be tempted by if we weren't in a pandemic, and I think are even more tempted by because of the pandemic. And maybe we're kind of getting what we may have been tempted by because of the pandemic, and that is every day being the same. Only, of course, we must remain in our homes. Those of us who care about our lives and our family members and, stay inside to make an effort, unlike so many others who are so willingly ready to die or kill others, or no matter who along the way. No shade, right? Thrown in anybody's direction. Yeah, your thoughts on all that?
I mean, I kind of just said it. It is a crazy temptation to think about, but also I think it's just crazy for the movie itself to kind of like hit the nail of this whole situation. Like, even like one of the first lines that you hear, what is it? It's like, it was Andy Samberg. He was in the pool and like he gives a beer to that one guy and he says like, what is it, like the days are always the same, or something like that. And it's like, that was like, as soon as I heard that, I went, oh yeah, that's us right now.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really think much of it when he talks about life doesn't matter and blah blah blah. I didn't really think much of it, like kind of our situation. But yeah, it is a ugly temptation, but it's also just kind of cool to think about ways of fighting through it, or at least getting through it, but also fighting through it. Like Andy's is trying to get through it, just kind of every single day, day by day, and all that.
And the movie was also hysterical. Let's not be like, say it was like all these things, but it also was funny. I mean, all of the antics that they pulled. I mean, just by the happenstance of their realities, how many times they died. Because it doesn't matter. I think they died in a car accident. Or several car accidents, actually. One was in a plane crash. They start to venture out and do other stuff that they can do instead of just having to the same old wedding. There are some gags that do work. It's not like, well, this wasn't funny, but it was gross when the sister broke her fucking teeth. That oh god,
yeah. No, my favorite comedy bits are the little hints they give you as to like what happened to Andy's character during the loop. So like when he's trying to hit on Christian's character, he kind of like tells her like, oh, you want to see something crazy, and he like takes her to the window by the bathroom, and you see his girlfriend with someone else. And he gives like this line of like, oh yeah, I can never stop that in any timeline, or like, or he says something like, no, I don't think there's no universe where I can stop that. And so it kind of gives you a hint of like, oh, he's tried to stop that thing from happening, but it always leads the same way. And then, well, there was another one. Well, it was towards the end of it, and he talks to that guy that like has like the RPG and just a bunch of guns, and he's shooting like a picture of his ex-wife's new husband or something. He goes up to him, he's like, "You met a woman 30 years ago at this bathroom. I'm your son." And it's just like, oh my god, like how long, like how did you get this guy to like tell you that? You know, it's insane. And it's just like these little hints of like telling you like this is what he went through during the time loop. Yeah, and I like those comedic. Oh, another one was the when he was at the bar again towards the end. He was at the bar and he flips off the bartender, but like before that he says, like, "Yes, Tim with the tow truck" or something like that, and he flips him off. And when the bartender throws him out, he has his car keys, and it's like, oh, okay, he knew how to
right
get the key to go back to the mountain.
I mean, just crazy sequences of that are just hilarious. I mean, when Niles and Sarah just walk into that bar you were talking about, but they just what were they doing? Like, was that called breakdancing, or what the fuck were they doing? Like, just randomly out of nowhere.
I think they just wanted to create like a flash mob type of thing, but it was just the two of them.
Yeah, yeah, like the humor hits hard here too. I'm trying to think of like other the gag where Andy Samberg Niles is talking to Sarah about exploring his sexuality, and all the people he like. The one that got me was when like he tried to convince her that he had sex with her father. That was, and then of course, no. I mean, who knows, right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, he claims that was just like a joke or whatever, but like, I mean, who knows?
Yeah. I like that one joke though. It was like after Kristen's character's first time loop, or like after her first loop, and she's trying to look for the portal or something, and he goes and like he points the way. And she just goes like, "Who are you? Like, well, how did you put me in this situation?" And he goes, "I am the Antichrist." Snapped his fingers, and like earthquake happens. But he's just like, "Nah, I'm just kidding. That always happens at this time." So,
no, man, there are some pretty great fucking moments that are just so great. I mean, in that way. Oh my god. But that another one where they put a bomb in the wedding cake. And like they spring into action and they kind of like fuck with them. I mean that has to be like a really like fun part. It's just like fucking with people. And they fucking like she comes out in like with an eye patch and a hook and like, "Oh, you ruined my plan," or whatever. But I think the one that came out of nowhere was before the time loop stuff happens. And fucking Niles is like impaled by a fucking arrow that Roy threw, played by J.K. Simmons. Yeah. That one was like quick. It got in him and like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but I also love like it's a you get an explanation as to like how J.K. Simmons got into the time loop itself. But I love that line though. If he's like, "No, just every couple of weeks he'll just like come out randomly and try to kill me because he hates what I've done to him." I just found that funny. That like just whenever he wants, I'm gonna go kill him now.
Yeah, and the J.K. Simmons character is another, I think, dimension to this. The exploration of the effect that this loop has on the characters, because clearly the arc that he happens to have off screen almost. I mean, of course. Being fucking hit by a car can make you re-examine things, clearly. But, he starts off the loop wanting to kill Niles, and then the last time we see him, he's going to come full circle where he's kind of accepted this and happy, like he legitimately is happy with the situation, where he never has to see his family age.
No, yeah.
And interesting. Okay, so a couple other things here. Where the director was teasing about the fact that it wasn't just J.K. Simmons and Niles and Sarah, that there may be other people that we saw on screen that are also time looping. There was this really interesting moment in the movie with the old lady that is played by June Squibb. Early in the movie, she walks up to Niles and to Sarah, and she says to Niles, "That was the best wedding speech I've ever heard," or something. And then at the end of the movie, that same woman comes up to Sarah the night that she's going to basically blow up the portal or whatever. And she says to her, "That was the best maid of honor speech I ever heard. And I guess you'll be leaving us now. Good luck," or something.
Mm-hmm.
Did you not catch that? Like, it was a little weird. Like, what?
I caught that, and I was kind of like, is she in the time loop too? Like, how does she know the plan? Specific. Yeah, it is a very specific moment in the movie, especially because that's the only time we see her too,
right?
The old lady. And so I don't know. I would like to rewatch the movie again just to see if like there's anyone else that possibly knows of the loop or like been through the loop. I don't know. Yeah. But I mean, have you heard like that there's
the
that
director,
there might be other people?
The director,
or was it just
was reading an interview, the director was like, he teased that other people definitely would be in the loop, that it wasn't just them. So
because the only like little fact that I read was that Niles was in the loop for at least 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So like, I mean, like knowing that and kind of seeing, especially that scene where he's like, I don't remember like my life before the loop or something like that. It is kind of like, oh my God. I can't even imagine that. It's insane.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course other stuff. So dinosaurs.
My theory is that the portal where it's at, just time kind of collapses in that area. And so every once in a while the dinosaurs will come out, or maybe every once in a while something else will come out, some other creature 100,000 years ago, or some plant. That's just my theory.
I mean, because again, the director said that they were real, that they weren't like something they were hallucinating.
Hallucination. Because they see it in the end too.
Yeah. That was like one of the last shots. You see them roaming off in the distance. So, what do you think happens at the end? Do you like? Is it like? I thought it was pretty clear, or that may be my interpretation. I'm not sure. It seemed as if it worked. They escaped the loop, and now they're going to continue living on. Or could that be another dimension? Could it be the multiverse? Does it even matter?
I don't think it matters, just as long as we know they're on June 10th instead of reliving June 9th.
Well, actually, November.
And
it's November.
Was it?
The movie takes... I know. Whatever. I'm just like, it takes place in November. Well, you see that Niles gets switched out with a rebooted version of him in the loop when J.K. Simmons tries and talks to him.
Yeah, that's one weird part, because I would have guessed that it might have been the person like before he got out of the loop, you know? But now it seems like as if she lived it regularly, like on the first day, I guess. And I'm actually really glad they put that little after credit scene, because I had to like skip through it going like, oh my God, no, you can't leave him behind, can you? But then they finally explained it. Thank God. But yeah, I mean, if I had to guess, maybe another dimension.
Maybe. I mean, I'll just take it as it worked and they figured it out. I mean, the moment was, of course, when when those two finally come together, and he realizes that he wants to live again with her, through her, basically. And of course, the moment of love, as they say, with the explosion happening and them embracing, and that was the culmination of that relationship.
Yeah, no, on that ending, I really like that line of, it's like, what if we annoy each other, or something like that. And Andy goes, I think we're already annoyed of each other. And it's funny, like, it's just cause it's like, yeah, you were living with the same person for like who knows how long. Of course you're gonna be annoyed of each other already, but you want to go through that still. And it was a nice line.
But holy fuck, 40 years.
Yeah.
Well, anywho, this is a great time to see this movie. And it'll get you asking these questions about whether your life has purpose or everything is meaningless. Take whatever you will from it. But we recommend this movie. Hulu, great time. This may be, I think, the movie of the year, because I think it encapsulates the year better than any movie I think we're going to see this year. Just for that purpose.
Yeah, I think so too.
We'll see. But I think we're going to bring this to a close now, unless you have anything else to say, David. All right. Well, thank you all for listening. We have more content for you here under our big red spotlight with episodes of Avatar and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Fantasy Fair. And I do want to go ahead and take this time to announce that coming in late August, Red Spotlight will continue the Avatar series into The Legend of Korra. Yes, Peter and Kyle have gotten away already well into Korra, and I will wait for it when it comes to Netflix, I'm sure. But we're going to go ahead. It's funny because Peter bought the damn show, and then, of course, it dropped on Netflix the next day. That's hilarious. Yeah. Legend of Korra, we'll be talking about the show in a similar format that we did with the Avatar series, of course, returning with both Alexis Moreno and David Francisco, and then Kyle and Peter and myself. So that is one of the upcoming shows that I can confirm right now. We're excited for it. I really don't know the mood of this, because there may be different opinions. It's just I'm looking at the reactions that I'm seeing, and that may be interesting. So keep your ears out for that. But until next time, thank you, David, for being here. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.